Wildlife Art Gallery. I'm your host, David Wirth. Today we're going to meet what I believe to be two of the most incredible artists that we have in the United States today. Sculptor Kent Ullberg and painter John Banovich. Both of these artists have incredible talent, have traveled the world. They live what they do. Right now I'm in front of one of Kent Ullberg's beautiful sculptures at Sculptures in the Park in Loveland, Colorado. Next we'll be going to see John Banovich in his beautiful home up in the high country in Montana. And I guarantee you, this will be the most incredible art show you'll ever see. So why don't you come with me and let's go see some real art. I'm sculpting with Kent Ullberg. All right, Kent, hey, thanks a lot for being here. Thanks for letting me in.
Oh, I love it. Fellow sculptor, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just a little journeyman sculptor, but it's quite an honor to be here in your studio. The foundry's not here in your studio, but this is where you set up all of your study pieces, the miniatures, a lot of the wax, working on wax pieces. Then you've got these awesome monuments that are in clay form right now. What's this piece right here, this huge eagle?
This is my most recent piece, and it's going to Houston, to the Federal Reserve Bank. And of course, as a Swedish immigrant and a new citizen really in this country, it's a great honor to do a piece for the federal government, you know. And also, the architect for this job is Michael Graves, which is an architect I've admired since art school days. He actually put figurative sculpture back in architecture. And I've always wanted to work with him, so I was very honored to get to do this piece.
Yeah. How do you start something like this? Because it's so big.
First, it starts as an idea, and very often, you know, I just do a little drawing, quick drawing. Then I build a little model, little sketch model. I like to sketch in 3 dimensions, you know. You cannot really do it with drawing. I draw in clay, so to speak, you know. So I make a little sketch model. In this case, it was a competition. So there was a lot of artists trying for this job. I think we've down to finally 4 finalists, and we created models. And so I did, in fact, I got one here. This is the first sketch model here for the piece. I don't know if you can see it, but, you know, this is a little one here. And Michael Graves designed, this is the entrance to the building. You walk right through a bronze turnstile. And it's got to do with security. Then it's a long corridor, and then you get to the building. I mean, they're holding billions of dollars in this building, you know. So this here is 18 foot tall, and so the sculpture is sitting on top of it. So this was my sketch model that I took down to Houston to the Federal Reserve, and they approved. Then, when that was approved, I make what I call a working model. And this one here, I work out all the details exactly the way I want it. And that becomes then my guide for the final, for the big one. And it takes, you know, it can take up to 6 months to do just work the clay. Sometimes a year.
What's underneath the clay?
It's steel. First, you know, we have steel supports, and on top of that, what we've done before, we spray urethane foam, and then we carve that to take up some of the bulk, because clay is so heavy. ton and a half of clay on it, 2 tons of clay, because clay is so heavy. So in this case, we went to really great detail with the foam, so that we didn't have to put so much clay on it. And it's recyclable, This clay has already been many different animals. I wish I could just, maybe the clay has memory, finally one day I'm going to tell it, be buffalo or something. It's art and labor, and it's hard work. I mean, you have to be physically fit, climbing up and down, putting on tons of clay. And I'm going to be 60 this year, so, I feel it. And, but, there is something really neat about sculpture, and certainly on this scale. And that is like, you feel that you're not a pansy artist, You feel you're doing an honest day work. You're actually doing some labor. And it fits my Lutheran work ethic, having grown up in Sweden in a fishing village, I was taught that people have to do an honest day work, and so I can do art and still be tired at night.
How did you get started in this whole monument business? Because, we're surrounded by so many different monuments. What was your first monument?
Well, first of all, having grown up in Europe, my hometown, and most towns in Europe, it's a lot older than the United States, and most towns have a lot of public sculptures. In my town, there is one at every square. There's something, and they become part of people's consciousness. There's a huge sculpture of the founder of the city on horseback, King Gustav II, for example. And it becomes a meeting place, and they have nicknames for them. That one particularly is called the Copper Mare, like a female. And it is no doubt that it's a stallion when you're standing underneath, But it's just people, so we meet you there. It becomes a student meeting place, so it's part of your consciousness. But of course, the first one is always the hardest to get. You try to tell a city that you can do it when you haven't done it.
Where did your first one go in?
It went in Dallas, and it was 1979, and it accomplished many things. It was very interesting actually, because it was a very modern building, the Dallas look, and so it was high-tech facades, stainless steel facades, and the owners, they wanted a realistic piece. They wanted the American Eagle, and the architect said, no, we need an abstract to go with this modern architecture. And I was called in, and I did a highly stylized eagle with the wings closed. And then I talked to the foundry here, which had a very brilliant foundry man, and I asked him, could we cast it in stainless steel? And it has never been done, a lost wax casting in stainless steel. But we managed to pull it off. And in doing that, we actually managed to bridge the gap between modern architecture and realism.
Well, this beautiful eagle here, you've been working on the bronzing of this over the last few weeks or a few months, because I saw wing feathers and pieces all around your studio here, and we're going to get to see you and your people at work, because I know you have quite a few people here that help weld all these things together, because it's impossible to hit every aspect of a piece of art like this on your own. So that'll be really neat to have you take us through all the different parts. But before that happens, I've been chomping at the bit to talk about this huge bison right here. In Omaha last week, I got to see a couple of the buffaloes that were next to the
the geese and the fountain there. What's there's a whole bunch of buffalo in here too. So you're getting ready to do something on a really, you're making something that's really huge and grand, to a spectacular level, which I don't think there's any monuments anywhere in the country that even come close to the grandeur.
There's another sculpture site that's going to have a wagon train, and it's going to be people, and it will speak about the pioneering aspect of Omaha, so jumping off for the westward expansion. And the people come into this area, they displace wildlife, and that's symbolized by a buffalo, who runs, and then a herd of buffalo runs from one site to the other. And they're going to go through buildings too, by the way, like the geese and stuff. Because, see, the whole thing is called the spirit of wilderness. Spirit of Nebraska wilderness. And spirit, they were there first. And later people put buildings where they used to run. So I just choose to have them run like there were no buildings there. Because spirits don't respect buildings.
Yeah, that's really a neat concept.
You saw the geese coming through the building, corner of a building there. And we're going to have buffalo do the same thing. So basically we have the wagon train, and they are done by two of the top figurative sculptors in America, Blair Buswell and Ed Broughton. And then a herd of buffalo running through town, flushing the geese, and they complete the path to the new bank. So basically, we're using downtown Omaha as a canvas. I really want to know what a buffalo looks like under that big fur, So we actually collected an old bull in Wyoming here, not very far from my studio here, in the middle of the winter out on the prairie. And then we opened all the doors here, had it ice cold in here. Brian, my studio foreman, shot the buffalo, we put him on a trailer, hauled him in here and dissected him. So I have bones, I have all the measurements, I have studied every muscle, and I feel confident that I know what buffalo looks like.
And then this looks like an actual casting
this
from a real
This is called a death mask. And I actually, of the dead buffalo, after we skinned him, dissected him and all that kind of stuff, I actually made a cast of his face, right over her fur and all. And this way I have all the measurements, Of course, the buffalo I did is bigger than life.
Yeah.
So this is, of course, a guide. You can't use this as a sculpture. Yeah. But it gives me everything, the fine detail in the nostrils, the eye. And, I feel if you come from a point of knowledge, then you can create art. And Hemingway, he said exactly that. If you write the truth as you've experienced it, then it can become art. And I'm of the same philosophy, You don't have to follow it 100%, but if you take liberty, you do it from the point of knowledge.
All right, let's go look at these little wax guys in here. This is quite the room. So what do you call these small study pieces? What's the technical name for
this? Technical is maquette.
Maquette?
And it comes from the French. A lot of art terms come from the French. And maquette, it means model, And it's still used today. I mean, you call a model for a monument, you call it a maquette.
Mm-hmm. So you've got a spot right here where this little guy's going on. What's your plan with this piece?
This has actually become a sculpture. This is a maquette, but it actually become a concept on its own. And I'm doing something unique here. What I wanted to do, I want to combine stainless steel and bronze in the same sculpture. Again, like I did with the Omaha thing. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's ever been done in a little sculpture like this. The reason for using stainless steel, I want to show the white buffalo, which is sacred to the Plains Indian. In fact, they thought it was an attribute to the sun god. So I'm calling this sculpture Gift from the sun. And here's a baby buffalo just born early spring, and he's white. It's that sacred, rare white buffalo, and he's born to normal parents, you know. So they will be in bronze, and he's going to be in stainless steel.
Well, you've got a real deep passion for the soul part of these animals and why they're here and where they come from. I mean, it's more than just putting on a simple animal on a piece of rock.
It's been my life's passion, you know. I want to celebrate nature with my work, you know, and the outdoors. And I've lived that way all my life. I wanted to be a commercial fisherman. That was my dream, because I love the sea. And my grandfather, you know, who went to sea when he was 14, his father before that, for generations, we come from seafarer and fishermen. And my grandfather said, no, you're not. You're going to the mainland and you're going to study, because this way of life is going to end. My grandfather understood the sea, and he was absolutely right. I mean, I hated it at the time, you know, but he was right, because today my fishing village is a ghost town. The fish failed, you know, the overfishing, and it was not by those guys. It was by the big, huge trawlers, mothership, Russian. They scraped the continental shelf clean, you know, and today there's no boats. And all my friends, schoolmates that I grew up with, they are out of business. They lost their boats, they lost their homes. So it's pretty tragic. So I in some ways, I thank my grandfather for forcing me off the island and forcing me to go to school. And then the reason I went to art school, I thank my dad and my mom, because they were artists. My dad was a painter, but also working as a fisherman. And he was a musician as well. And my mom was a textile artist. As kids, you really don't pay much attention to what your parents do, you know? I mean, I never even thought of my mom as anything else but a textile, as a weaver. She had a weaving studio. But what I didn't realize until my mom died, she died young. She was only 61, died of cancer. And I cleaned out her studio, and I found her diaries. And when she got pregnant with me, and until I was 2 years old, she was studying sculpture. And she wrote in there that she took me to her sculpture classes because she couldn't afford a babysitter. And she said she did a little study of my right hand in clay in art school. And I rummaged through all her stuff, and I found it, and I have it. It's my prized possession. It's a fired clay, which is called terracotta, you know, as you know, little study of my hand. So after my mom passed away, I get to say thanks to her for really making me a sculptor. Absolutely, a fellow sculptor. You want to sculpt the buffalo horn?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's about all that's left to do on it. You build from this side, I build from this side. We're going to build this horn here.
So how do you go on? You just don't stick a bunch of balls on there? Is that how it works? Or?
Very special technique. You just slap it on. That's what I do.
I'm sculpting with Kent Ullberg.
What's happening here, we got the burnout oven, and the shells, the glowing hot shells are being taken out and ready for the bronze pour. You can see how the shells are glowing with the heat.
So this is the raw bronze over there?
That's the raw bronze ingot, yeah.
One of those bricks? Now who said there's no gold in them hills?
has just a blasé thing to it with being an artist, that it's not really a lot of work, or you got to get lucky, or, and I think obviously through our talk that, it's extreme hard work and it's dedication and commitment the whole way.
Yeah, it is, like you said, it's a life commitment, it's a passion. And I'll tell you, I would do it even if it was illegal. I'd do it sneakily because I love it so much. And to get paid to do it, to actually make a living with your life's passion, it is incredibly fortunate, When you get to my stage, I'm going to be 60 this year. It's a lot better. I have a lot of clients, I have a lot of people that supported my work over the years. So I'm not worrying about day-to-day living, but I'll tell you, there was many years where I was really worrying about feeding my family. I had 2 boys, and it's frightening. It's not easy to break into the art business. But at this point, I have chosen to do a lot of public monuments, big sculptures, and I've done that because the way I grew up, I was used to seeing big sculptures around, and I assume that's what the sculptor do, monumental commissions. But it is really hard work, and it is limited how long I can keep doing it. And the little ones give me tremendous pleasure. Just to be alone in the studio myself and fiddle around with clay and wax. I mean, that's my image of heaven, a huge room, empty, and no telephones and lots of clay, and days of just fiddling with it, making animals. That's what I love to do.
When we come back, we'll continue the celebration of nature. I'll take you to Big Sky Country, Montana. There we'll meet with award-winning wildlife artist John Banovich.